चेत्तानि नाहं न च श्रोत्रजिह्वे न च घ्राणनेत्रे न च व्योमभूमिर्न तेजो न वायु चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न च प्राणसंज्ञो न वै पञ्चवायु न वा सप्तधातु न वा पञ्चकोश न वाक्पाणिपादं न चोपस्थपायु चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न मे द्वेषरागो न मे लोभमोहो मदोर्नैव मे नैव मात्सर्यभावः न धर्मो न चार्थो न कामो न मोक्षः चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न पुण्यं न पापं न सौख्यं न दुःखं न मन्त्रो न तीर्थं न वेदा न यज्ञः अहं भोजनं नैव भोज्यं न भोक्ता चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न मृत्युर्न शङ्का न मे जातिभेदः पिता नैव मे नैव माता न जन्म न बन्धुर्न मित्रं गुरुर्नैव शिष्यः चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहम् अहं निर्विकार निर्विकल्पो निराकाररूपो विभुत्वाच्च सर्वत्र सर्वेन्द्रियाणां न च सङ्गतं नैव मुक्तिर्न मेया चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं 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 चिदानन्द.
Namaste. Good morning and welcome on this Sunday morning. I'm so happy and honored that Deepak and the Chopra Foundation invited me for this beautiful satsanga that we are conducting. We just now heard a beautiful compilation from Adi Shankaracharya talking about consciousness, the very qualities of what this world is, what the projection of the world is, and how to transcend it with the realization or the science of consciousness or the knowledge about consciousness. The work that Deepak has been doing and has pioneered for the last 40 years is at a stage where we are creating a perfect blend of East and West, coming from the ancient Vedic tradition, from the Vedantic tradition, to talk about the latest science, that what it is telling us. And especially in the light of longevity, the eternal quest of longevity, and how can we simplify and how can we come up with simple tools and techniques that will not only inspire you but motivate you to be on this track. Think about it for a moment. Even this thing, what we are doing right now, creating a virtual group of the Chopra community globally, worldwide, no matter where you are, in your living rooms, in your drawing rooms, in your study rooms, you're traveling, it could be in your cars. You're listening and you're connecting to what I call it as the thread of wholeness. And going back to Adi Shankaracharya, he has given a very simple roadmap how to get there. And that is a very simple verse which I would like to recite, and I'll tell you the meaning of that in a minute. It says, Satsangatve Nissangatvam. Satsangatve Nissangatvam. Nissangatve Nirmohatvam. Nissangatve Nirmohatvam. Nirmohatve Nishchalatvam. Nirmohatve Nishchalatvam. Nishchalatve Jivanamuktihi. Nishchalatve Jivanamuktihi. So he has given us a roadmap to get there, to get to the Jiv Mukti, to experience your own freedom from Maya. And what he has told, the first step is Satsanga. Sat means good, Sangha means company. Try to be in a good company as much as possible. Company means everything that you do, the books that you read, the films that you watch, the people that you hang out with, the hobbies that you have, the entertainment ideas you have, even this desire for you to join us in this satsang, to listen to something which is going to help you decode the very purpose and meaning of life, is a part of satsanga. And Deepak likes to create these satsanga to gather groups around the country, in person or in virtual. So the first step is satsangatva. If you start keeping a good company, you start keeping a good sangha, slowly and steadily where it leads you is to nissangatvam. Nissanga, and here Nissanga means you slowly becomes less and less possessive. You minimize your needs. You start letting go of many things that do not serve you. Not only the material objects, you don't have to have 3 or 4 cars for you to feel good about, or 3 or 4 houses for you to feel good about, or unwanted stacks of shoes and clothing that you will never use or do anything with. So you are trying to minimize the clutter in your life in every possible way, because satsanga leads you to the decluttering of life. And when you start minimizing that, that nissanga leads to nirmohatvam. Nirmoha, moha is chaos, confusion, covering. That doesn't allow you to see things as they are. That doesn't allow you to really understand things in the right perspective, because your conditioning is always impacting what you see, what you perceive, and then what you take, ingest, and digest on top of that. So as you are becoming a little bit in a good company and you're minimizing your needs, that slowly leads to nirmoha, where that illusion covering slowly starts cracking and fading away. You start living in the moment, you start living in the present. You are able to see things as they are and not hold the experience in your system for a very long time. It's human to feel good or bad. It's human to feel angry or upset about something. But how long it stays into your system? And when you are in a state of nirmohatvam, you minimize some of those things. You slowly declutter your life and minimize the impressions that get stuck into your system. And you create what we call it as an equilibrium or a sthita pragya of your intellect, a stable intellect that is not easily wavered with something good happening to you, something bad happening to you. Sthita pragya. And that is a quality that we have to painfully develop as we go through the quagmire of life. And what does it mean? In Bhagavad Gita, it says, Sukha dukhe sama krutva labha labho jaya jayau. If you are maintaining the same state of mind in a state of sukha or dukkha, labha or alabha, means whether you are happy, unhappy, whether you are victorious or vanquished, whether you get what you want or you don't get what you want. If you are able to maintain the swing of the pendulum to the minimal, to the state of equilibrium, so that nirmohatvam is slowly creating that stability of intellect, because what you are taking giant steps, and look at yourself, look at your life. You have been listening, reading to everything what we have been talking about, and you are deeply interested in spirituality and the practical application of spirituality. And you have outgrown many things that you are born and raised with, the family that you were born with, your ideas, your outlook, your ability to earn money and use that money and resources for the benefit of mankind. All of that is slowly helping you to even evolve towards becoming a better human being. Nissangatve nirmohatvam. Nirmohatve nishchalatvam. Chala means movement. Nishchala means stability. That nishchala is the quality of a peaceful stability that you need to acquire. Whether you do through rigorous practice of yoga and asana, where you create steadfastness. The very basis of a asana is called as sthira sukham asanam. You are in a state of sthira, stability, and experiencing a state of sukha, feeling happy, blissful, relaxed, and stable. That is what is defined as asana. So as you are leading from nirmoha, you are leading to what we call it as nishchalatvam. Less wandering, less movement, less scattered thoughts, minds, actions, behavior. You become much more focused. You are able to manifest things through your intentions. You are able to understand things as they are. You're not carrying away with loads and loads of unwanted baggage into your system. Literally, you're lightening up. Lightening up is the first step towards enlightenment. So that nishchalatve jivana mukti. That stability of your mind, body, intellect is definitely taking you towards liberation. Taking you towards liberation, which is nishchalatva. That steadfastness, that stability, that realization that you are never born and never gone. That stability that you, at your quantum mechanical level, is just a cosmic dust, which is being recycled in so many different ways. The same four basic elements that you are made up of: carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, or the Panchamahabhutas, what we call it as. They are just going to be there, whether you are here or not. So, dispelling the fear of life. And the best way to dispel the fear of life is to realize that you are immortal. And it might be a bold statement, especially as a mission statement from an Ayurvedic medicine. The very mission statement or the motto of Ayurveda is Ayurvedo Amritanam, for God's sake. The very premise of helping any client, patient that comes to you is to help them realize that you are immortal. You are an immortal being. And that realization comes when you are slowly dispelling the fear and you are infusing the body with the degree of prana, the force of life, vitality. That effortlessly the flow of nature, the intelligence of nature is flowing in and out of you easily as you become a mere conduit for that energy to flow. Easier said and done. But the whole science of Ayurveda, the whole science of yoga, all the allied Vedic branches have given us a very simple roadmap or template. And today, as we are about to announce the next program that is going to share with all of you, it's almost decoding a secret. And we are going to launch the longevity program starting from January next year. And I welcome all of you, literally all of you, to be a part of it. Because everyone wants to live longer, healthier, and happier life. And the quest of longevity that humans are looking at, we are very close to really understand that what are the nitty-gritty tools that are required for you to get there. And I'm going to share one very simple tool today with all of you. And you must have heard this word prana. Prana? Prana is simply translated as life force. But as that is with any Sanskrit language or Sanskrit word, it takes enormous efforts to even describe a root or a syllable or a word. So prana, we can talk volumes about it. And what it is if you just want to equate prana, I want you to equate prana with consciousness. Just think about for a moment. Think about for a moment, and prana is consciousness. And that prana that pervades in the entire universe is keeping everything in alignment. The same prana, which is the life force, because you think or we think that we are eating food that is keeping us alive, or we are drinking water that is keeping us alive, or we are getting oxygen that is keeping us alive. The prana that we take in the form of this is what is keeping us alive. If your food is filled with prana, if your water is filled with prana, and of course the air, the clean, pure air that you breathe in, and not only able to breathe in, but to utilize that air to the maximum, using the flow of prana, percolating to every cellular level, to every kosha, every nadi, everywhere in the body, which connects the dot of the universal prana with the individual prana, I would say. So let's think about this for a moment. If prana is consciousness, then everything that we do should be an activity of enhancing prana in our life. As simple as that. So whatever you do, if you have a yardstick to measure that, does it feel like filled with prana? Does it feel like a pranic activity for me to do? The food I'm eating, is it filled with prana, the force of life? Whatever work I'm doing, whatever movement I'm doing, whatever experience at an emotional level I'm experiencing, is it nurturing my prana or sapping the vitality or blocking the prana or not allowing the prana to flow? And all the ancient cultures, I'm not talking about only Vedic sciences, I'm talking about so many things. We're talking about the Polynesian culture, they call it as mana. The Chinese, they call it as chi. In the Hebrew tradition, they call it as ruah. In the Islamic or Sufi tradition, they call it as ruh. This is prana. And the prana, what you are taking in, the way you nurture prana. And if you maybe understand some Ayurvedic concept related with prana, the 5 subdoshas, that they get their energy from the primary subdosha of vata, which is prana. So you're talking about prana, apana, samana, vyana, and udana. All of these subdoshas, and pardon me for my Sanskrit here because I would like to share something which is pure, clean, and authentic and right from the source. So the energy that all the 5 subdoshas of the prana, vata gets is coming from prana. Prana is the driver for samana, which is your digestive force. Your digestive force, which kindles, takes in the information, metabolizes into nutrients, convert that into body tissue, is governed by prana and samana. You must have seen Deepak's article recently about entropy and metabolic function. So if at all you're going to be shriveled and shorten your life because of a weak metabolic system or imbalanced metabolic system which creates increased fire or inflammation, both can lead to an imbalance and can create an effect which will be shortening of your life. Because you're not able to digest and metabolize and process foods and absorb nutrient in its proper way, or you're literally going to burn your system and exhaust your own tissues and organ systems. In both ways, you're going to be in the losing end. So prana is regulating samana. Prana is regulating apana, which is the outward downward flow of vata. When you talk about a bowel movement, simple function like a bowel movement. And we are painfully realizing this, that how important this overlooked function is. Your body's ability to create a perfect, good-looking bowel movement every morning, to function with all the microbial colonies that you have in your gut, trillions and trillions of bacteria that you have in gut, helping them, guiding them in almost like a symbiotic relationship and creating this. And having that impact of an excellent, good-looking bowel movement is a sign that you are healthy. Talk about udana. Your ability to breathe out is even more effective sometimes than breathe in. So the biggest detoxification that you will ever do is not through stool or urine or sweating or this or that or enemas. The most effective detoxification technique is breathing, breath. You breathe out unwanted carbon dioxide, which is toxic if you hold on to it. As your ability to breathe out becomes lower and lower and lower, you become more and more weak and tired and fatigued. And that's what the problem is. Means fatigue, low energy, physically and mentally, is the biggest clinical symptom that I see in my practice. Lack of prana. Lack of prana, lack of vitality. Because the rasayana, the anti-aging treatment that Ayurveda has been talking about for long together, is urjaskara. Urja is the innate energy of prana. Something that gives you this energy that you are like an energizer bunny all day long, from morning to evening. Physically, you are excited like a little kid to start something new, to engage in conversations, to constantly keep yourself busy doing something that you absolutely love to do, is a sign that you are on the track of reversing the aging process. If you love what you do and you're doing what you love, is slowly taking you to generate that reservoir of energy which doesn't come from any exotic food or nutrient or vitamin or some expensive vitamin mineral combinations or amino acids or protein. They all have their roles to play, no doubt about it. But I think for you to really understand, to become urjaskar, urja, ojaskar, improving the quality of the ojas, which is the togetherness of the vata, pitta, and kapha. Ojas is formed when you are sequentially nourished all the tissues, when your food is digested and metabolized properly. Starting from rasa, rakta, mamsa, meda, asthi, majja, shukra, and then ojas is created. So you start the process of digestion with the hottest thing in the world, which is Agni, and you finish the process of digestion with the coolest thing in the universe, which is Ojas, and then Soma. Blow hot, blow cold. The two opposites of the sun and the moon should be in a very harmonized way balancing itself. And this concept of sun and moon, the concept of hot and cold, the concept of yin and yang, the concept of masculine, feminine, Shiva and Shakti, is nothing but enlivening the flow of prana. Whether you do it through asana, regulating the right and the left hemispheres of your brain, or the right or left part of your body by activating your Ida and Pingala, and that ascension of Kundalini, which happens through Sushumna. And that activity of the ascension of the energy is a simple term in yogic text, and that is called as pranothana. Pranothana. Utthana means lift. Lifting prana up. That's what it is. Anything which is stagnant, blockage, trapped, that is released. So whenever there is a union between the Ida and Pingala activating Sushumna for the prana to move upward, and as it moves upwards, it starts cleansing and purifying the various blockages that you have in your chakra and the chakric plexuses. They are physical, because the sthula sharir, as we call it. They are subtle and emotional, what we call it as sukshma sharir. And slowly they are creating better experiences in your field of atma, consciousness, what we call it as karan sharir. So the physical movement of yoga, the pranayama activity of yoga, what we do, eating foods that are filled with prana, moving your body to allow and improve the circulation that is flowing everywhere in and out of you, improving the clarity of your perception. One of the things in the Ayurvedic text that it talks about, who maintains the experience of your senses? Is there someone that tells the tongue to taste the food? Is there someone who tells the skin to experience the sense of touch? Or, for that matter, all the sensomotor organs. There are 5 sensory organs, there are 5 motor organs, then the 11th organ, which is sensomotor in nature, which is mind. And the location of the mind is in the heart and the brain both. The location of the mind is in the heart and the brain both. Mind regulates the functioning of the sensory faculties as well as the motor faculties both. Its ability to use the sensory faculties and sensory organs to a certain extent to carry out their functions. It is the driver of that, but is it the driver of it completely? When you look at the qualia and the qualities and how you experience life, how you perceive perceptions, and where do you store those perceived perceptions, I think the simplest answer to that would be prana. The more and more we read, know, understand about prana, I think we are more and more convinced that the force that governs prana is governs your mind is prana. And that regulation of your mind with prana is so important. In Hatha Yoga Pradipika, there is a very simple sutra which says, Chale vate, chale chittam, nishchalam, nishchalo bhavet. When the breath wanders, the mind wanders. When the breath is steady, mind is steady. So, it's again a simple roadmap. Anything that makes your breath steady will steady your mind. And why do we need to do that? Because as your breath is steady, as your mind is steady, its ability to control and regulate your sensory faculty is going to be easier. I can tell all day long not to shop, not to buy this, not to do this, not to do this, don't do this food, don't do this food. But in my clinical experience, those people who start doing yoga, who start meditating effortlessly, start staying away from food, start quitting things what they were doing which are not healthy or do not serve them anymore. It has changed complete not only the building blocks of the physiology but how they make decisions. So if prana is the key which is going to change this, and the location of the prana is in the heart and the brain, both. The location of the mind, as per Ayurvedic and the yogic test, is in the heart and the brain. And there's an age-old debate in medicine whether when the heart is dead, whether you call a person a dead, when the brain is dead, whether you call a person a dead. Those are the seats of consciousness. And another simple thing that we are learning from the latest scientific research, and we'll be sharing this a lot in the coming weeks and months together during the longevity experiment. We are going to take these pearls of wisdom from scattered Vedic literature and blend them with the cutting edge science that is coming out. And Deepak will be talking to numerous experts, Nobel laureates, and to inspire all of us to lead a long, healthy life through the longevity experiment. Going back to what I was talking was that the simple statement is aging heart leads to an aging brain, and the aging brain leads to an aging heart. And I'm talking about prana, I'm talking about consciousness. And everything that you do that is good for heart and good for brain, if you are able to connect the dot between these two vital organs, I promise you, you will create a healthier, happier lifestyle. Just to give you an example, okay? Because what we know, for example, vascular inflammation nowadays, the vascular inflammation which is clogging your coronary arteries is the same vascular inflammation which is restricting oxygen flow to the brain, creating what we call it as a cerebrovascular inflammation along with cardiovascular inflammation. The cholesterol plaque that you're worried with coming from bad food or bad digestion, clogging your coronary arteries, is the same plaque clogging your cerebrovascular arteries. Diabetes, coronary artery diseases, variety of chronic diseases that we think are affecting or impacting your heart. Blood pressure can affect your heart, can generate a stroke. Diabetes, nowadays, we call it as type 3 diabetes, which is called as Alzheimer's. Restricted cognitive function, because the oxygenation to the brain is hampered because of these metabolic impurities that are clogging the channels of circulation, restricting the flow of prana to the heart and the brain both. And if you look at all the activities that you will do to improve the cardiovascular functioning, at the same time improving cerebrovascular functioning, that's really, really good and simple. Meditation, good for heart, good for brain. We know that. The heart rate, the pulse rate, the respiratory rate, the metabolic rate even slows down when you meditate. And it also improves all the areas and the networking that affects in the right and the left hemisphere when you are meditating. It connects the dots that are simply impossible when you're keeping your eyes open and working with hundreds of different experiences that are happening in your life. So you imagine you're closing your eyes, you're withdrawing your senses, but the brain is able to connect, and what we call it as neural signaling or neural correlates in different parts of the brain that are creating almost bridges that are created. So it creates a coherent functioning of the brain when you are meditating. Same with yoga. Good for heart, good for brain. Every time you stand on one leg, then on the other leg, it regulates the right and the left hemisphere of the brain. You're lying down, you are doing Shalabhasan or Ekpad Uttanasan. You're lifting one leg, then two legs, then both legs, one hemisphere, the other hemisphere, and regulates both of them. So the neuroplasticity, the neurogenesis, neurosculpting, all of these newfound scientific terms that we talk about are practically doable by these simple exercise. Alternate nostril breathing, pranayama, regulating the right and left hemisphere of the brain. Good for heart, good for brain at the same time. Relaxes the autonomic nervous system, regulates the vagus pathways that goes everywhere, frankly. So if you are creating a conducive lifestyle which is based on prana only, with yoga, with meditation, eating a plant-based diet that is filled with colors, natural colors, vibrant colors, filled with phytonutrients, that's impossible to put in any laboratory that you would create. Vitamins, minerals, ascorbages, bioflavonoids, loads and loads of nutrients happily living together and creating its own pharmacy, and carry the prana inbuilt. That's the added benefit. It's filled with the force of life. And that force of life, when you eat, nurtures the force of life in your body. So about 80% of your food that you can vouch on a daily basis is filled with prana, is really good for heart, good for brain. Eating light is good for heart, good for brain. Gentle amount of fasting, very good for heart, very good for brain. And there are more and more researches that are coming out that this subtle state of lightening, it actually helps to reduce the pressure on your heart as well as your brain. Sleep, and we can again talk volumes about it. Sleep is regulated by prana itself. So your ability to have a good night's sleep depends upon the flow of prana in your system. If the prana is obstructed, blocked, not enough, you're either overexhausted or you're over-energized, you're having certain stimulants, variety of different things is going to affect the quality of your sleep. Your sensory perceptions, your sensory experience, your quality of sleep, your ability to take the food and nutrients and convert into body tissue, all governed and regulated by prana. Exercise, movement. If you have the energy and you go out and do the exercise, I think that's the best thing one can do for your heart as well as your brain at the same time. You go for a light jog or run, you do high intensity interval training, whatever you like to do. Jogging, running, playing sports, hitting balls, tennis, badminton, any sport that you like to do, which is fun, physical movement, hand-eye coordination, depth perception, excellent for your heart and the brain both. So we are creating a pranic lifestyle for longevity. And today I just wanted to share these beautiful tips that are coming right from the source of Ayurveda and Vedic literature. And we'll be gathering many of these tips and tools to share with all of you to this wonderful virtual Chopra global community. And we'll have thousands of people tuning in at a time where we want to create a virtual group satsanga. And we are expecting somewhere close to 3,000 to 5,000 people join in twice a month, starting from January, where we'll not only give you the information, we'll give you the tools, we'll give you the handouts, we'll give you the slides, and we will share that with the existing research that is out there for you to study, for you to simply feel inspired and motivated. Because if you're feeling inspired and motivated, and share that in a very excited way to your friends and families, and start living, thinking, cooking, behaving differently, I promise we can create a longevity experiment which will be a true model for not only this country but worldwide. How to apply the ancient wisdom of Vedic sciences and create a consciousness based, healthy, and happy lifestyle. So I welcome all of you to the longevity experiment. Please stay tuned, and we would like all of you to sign up for these upcoming classes starting from January. Namaste.
मनोबुद्ध्यहङ्कार चित्तानिनाहं न च श्रोत्रजिह्वे न च घ्राणनेत्रे न च शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न च प्राणसंज्ञो न वै न वा सप्तधातु न वा पञ्चकोश न वाक्पाणिपादं न चोपस्तपायु चिदा